Analog horror is the internet's newest nightmare fuel, and these series are so psychologically disturbing that they're redefining what horror can be. Using VHS aesthetics, emergency broadcasts, and found footage techniques, creators are crafting terror that feels disturbingly real. Today we're breaking down every major analog horror series that's been keeping the internet awake at night. Unlike traditional horror movies with jump scares and gore, analog horror weaponizes nostalgia and authenticity. These series use deliberately degraded video quality, retro technology, and documentary-style presentation to make fictional horror feel like recovered evidence of real events. So in this video, I'm explaining 8 of the most terrifying analog horror series that have taken the internet by storm. 1. The Mandela Catalogue, Alternates Among Us. The Mandela Catalogue is the series that put analog horror on the map, and it's built around one of the most psychologically disturbing concepts ever created: alternates. These entities can perfectly mimic any human being, and they've been systematically replacing people for decades. The series presents itself as a collection of emergency broadcasts, training videos, and security footage from Mandela County, where the alternate invasion is taking place. What makes this terrifying is how it's structured like real government documentation, complete with official warnings, survival guides, and incident reports that feel disturbingly authentic. The psychological horror comes from the concept of metaphysical awareness, the idea that simply knowing alternate realities exist makes you vulnerable to them. The series suggests that watching these videos puts you at risk, breaking the fourth wall in a way that makes viewers feel genuinely unsafe. The alternates don't just threaten fictional characters, they threaten anyone who learns about them. Creator Alex Kister masterfully uses religious imagery and biblical references to create a mythology where alternates aren't just monsters. They're a corruption of divine creation itself. The series implies that these entities have been manipulating human history since biblical times, making every religious story potentially suspect. 2. Local 58 Emergency Broadcast Nightmare. Local 58 perfected the emergency broadcast format and turned routine television programming into existential horror. The series presents itself as archived broadcasts from a fictional TV station, but each episode reveals increasingly disturbing content and hidden within regular programming. The genius of Local 58 lies in how it weaponizes familiar formats. Weather reports, emergency alerts, and children's programming become vehicles for cosmic horror. The series suggests that television itself has been compromised by unknown entities who use broadcasts to manipulate and control human behavior. Episodes like Contingency present what appears to be a government emergency broadcast instructing citizens to commit suicide to avoid a worse fate. The clinical, authoritative tone makes the horrific content feel disturbingly plausible, as if this could be broadcast during a real emergency. The series taps into deep fears about media manipulation and government control. In an era of fake news and information warfare, Local 58's premise that our trusted information sources could be compromised feels uncomfortably relevant. The horror comes from realizing that the voices we trust for safety might be leading us toward destruction. 3. Gemini Home Entertainment Nature Documentary Horror. Gemini Home Entertainment disguises cosmic horror as educational programming, creating one of the most unsettling analog horror experiences ever produced. The series presents itself as a collection of nature documentaries, fitness videos, and educational content. But each episode reveals an invasion by plant-like entities called the Iris. What makes Gemini Home Entertainment particularly disturbing is how it corrupts the wholesome, educational format we associate with safety and learning. Nature documentaries become guides to alien biology. Fitness videos become infection protocols. And children's programming becomes indoctrination material for an inhuman agenda. The Iris entities represent body horror on a cosmic scale. They don't just kill humans, they transform them into plant-human hybrids that retain enough consciousness to suffer. The series shows this transformation process in clinical detail, presenting it as a natural evolution rather than a horrific mutation. Creator Remy Abode uses the trusted authority of educational programming to deliver genuinely disturbing content. When a nature documentary calmly explains how alien plants are replacing human organs, the cognitive dissonance creates a unique form of horror that's both fascinating and deeply unsettling. 4. The Walton Files, Animatronic Nightmare. The Walton Files takes the Five Nights at Freddy's concept and elevates it into genuine psychological horror through masterful use of analog aesthetics and disturbing imagery. The series follows the dark history of Bond's Burgers, a family restaurant where animatronic characters have become possessed by the souls of murdered children. What sets the Walton Files apart is its commitment to authentic 1970s and 1980s aesthetics. Creator Martin Walls uses period-appropriate video quality, typography, and design to make the fictional restaurant chain feel like a real piece of lost media. The degraded video quality doesn't just look retro, it actively obscures horrific imagery, making viewers strain to see details they're not sure they want to understand. The series excels at building dread through implication rather than explicit horror. Episodes often feature corrupted promotional materials, training videos, and security footage that hint at terrible events without showing them directly. This forces viewers to piece together the horror from fragments, making their imagination do most of the terrifying work. The psychological horror comes from how the series treats childhood trauma and family tragedy. The animatronics aren't just monsters, they're children who died violently and are now trapped in mechanical bodies, unable to rest or move on. This adds a layer of genuine sadness to the horror that makes the series emotionally devastating as well as frightening. 5. The Monument Mythos, Alternate History, Horror. The Monument Mythos reimagines American history as cosmic horror, suggesting that famous landmarks and historical events are connected to otherworldly entities. The series presents itself as declassified government documents, historical footage, and educational materials from an alternate timeline where reality itself is unstable. Creator Alex Kazanis uses real historical events as the foundation for increasingly bizarre revelations. The Statue of Liberty becomes a prison for cosmic entities. Mount Rushmore serves as a monitoring station for interdimensional threats. And the moon landing reveals that space itself is hostile to human consciousness. What makes Monument Mythos particularly compelling is how it treats familiar American symbols as sources of existential dread. The series suggests that the very foundations of American identity are built on cosmic horror, making patriotic imagery feel threatening and alien. The series excels at creating a sense of vast, incomprehensible conspiracy. Each episode reveals new layers of hidden history, suggesting that everything we know about reality is carefully constructed fiction designed to hide humanity's actual situation. This creates paranoid horror that extends beyond the series itself. 6. The Backrooms, Infinite Liminal Horror. The Backrooms concept evolved from a simple creepypasta into a complex analog horror mythology exploring infinite empty spaces that exist between reality. The series presents itself as found footage from people who have no clipped out of reality into these endless, fluorescent-lit office spaces. What makes Backrooms analog horror particularly disturbing is how it weaponizes liminal spaces, areas that feel familiar but wrong, like empty offices, abandoned malls, and endless hallways. These environments trigger a specific type of anxiety related to isolation and disorientation, making viewers feel genuinely uncomfortable even when nothing explicitly threatening is happening. The horror comes from the concept of being trapped in infinity. The Backrooms aren't just scary because of the entities that inhabit them. They're terrifying because they represent endless, meaningless existence. The idea of wandering fluorescent-lit hallways forever, with no purpose or destination, taps into existential fears about the meaninglessness of modern life. Different creators have expanded the Backrooms concept into a complex mythology with multiple levels, each representing different types of psychological horror, from the original yellow offices to more exotic environments like infinite pools and endless suburbs. The Backrooms have become a collaborative horror universe that continues to evolve. 7. Harmony and Horror, Children's Programming. Corruption. Harmony and Horror takes the concept of corrupted children's programming and elevates it into genuinely disturbing analog horror. The series presents itself as episodes from a fictional children's show called Harmony and Horror, but each episode reveals increasingly dark content hidden within the cheerful facade. Creator Baddington uses the trusted format of educational children's programming to deliver genuinely unsettling content. What appears to be innocent puppet shows and educational segments gradually reveal themes of death, isolation, and existential dread that are utterly inappropriate for the target audience. The psychological horror comes from how the series corrupts childhood innocence. The puppets and characters that should represent safety and learning become vehicles for delivering disturbing messages about mortality and meaninglessness. This violation of childhood trust creates a unique form of horror that's both nostalgic and deeply unsettling. The series excels at creating cognitive dissonance between its cheerful presentation and dark content. When cartoon characters calmly discuss death and suffering in sing-song voices, the contrast creates a form of horror that's both absurd and genuinely frightening. This technique makes viewers question their memories of childhood programming and wonder what dark messages they might have missed. 8. Analog Archives, Found Media Horror. Analog Archives presents itself as a collection of recovered media from various sources. Home videos, security footage, and broadcast recordings that reveal supernatural events. The series uses the found footage format to create horror that feels like discovered evidence rather than fictional entertainment. What makes Analog Archives particularly effective is its commitment to authenticity. Each piece of found media includes realistic technical details, appropriate video degradation, and period-accurate aesthetics that make the supernatural events feel genuinely documented rather than staged. The series covers a wide range of horror concepts, from haunted locations to time anomalies to interdimensional entities. This variety keeps viewers engaged while building a larger mythology that suggests supernatural events are far more common than the public realizes. The psychological horror comes from the implication that these recordings are tangible evidence of supernatural activity that's been suppressed or ignored. The series suggests that the world is full of documented proof of the paranormal, but this evidence is dismissed or hidden from public view. This creates paranoid horror that extends beyond the series itself. And there you have it, 8 analog horror series that are redefining what digital terror can be. From the Mandela Catalogue's alternate invasion to the infinite nightmare of the Backrooms, these creators are proving that the most effective horror doesn't need Hollywood budgets or traditional scares. What makes analog horror so psychologically powerful is how it weaponizes nostalgia and authenticity. Which analog horror series keeps you awake at night? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe.